Welcome everyone to our study abroad podcast series. So, today we have Aryaman from Singapore with us, who will be sharing his experience. So, welcome, Aryaman.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, we'll start with our discussion points.
Sure.
The very first question that I have for you that we saw your LinkedIn profile and you did your initial schooling from DPS RK I
Yes.
guess. So living in Delhi till 12th standard and then
Hmm.
deciding to go to Singapore, how was
Hmm.
that decision-making process? When was the first time you thought about going abroad for study, and how was that decision-making
Hmm.
process for you?
Okay, so I joined DPS Arkipuram in the 11th grade, and so all my peers around me were talking about studying abroad. And before that, I hadn't really considered it as an option. But after speaking to them, understanding my options abroad, and understanding what I want to do. So I chose Singapore as it is the third largest financial hub in the world behind New York and London. And it was within my budget and it was closer to India as well as compared to those two options. So I chose to pursue my studies in economics in NTU. Yeah.
So did you apply to more colleges, or you applied to how many colleges did you apply to?
So abroad, I only applied to NTU because I had set my mind to NTU.
Oh, okay, you are like pretty much very crystal clear that you will go to NTU or like let's say India.
Yeah. So
Any
it
backup
was,
options you had?
to be honest, no. So I had set my mind to NTU, and then in India, I was considering my options in Mumbai, in Narsi Munji, and in Delhi University. So those were
Okay.
my options. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you had one options abroad and two, three options in India, and
Yeah.
then probably you got through the NTU, so you obviously chose that
Yeah.
as the priority. Okay, okay. And what all tests preparations that you have to do for NTU? Like you have to write SAT, IELTS, TOEFL, etc.
So for me personally, it was during COVID as well. So they took my academic transcripts throughout high school, so from grade 9 to grade 12. And then they saw my co-curricular activities and other achievements, extracurricular activities, and related things, so school projects and all of that stuff as well. So it's
But
mostly
you had
related
to
to
write
that. Yeah.
IELTS or no need.
So IELTS was required for. So there was a provision for people who scored above a certain percentage in their English boards, so that they didn't have to give IELTS or TOEFL. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you were like your IELTS was waived off because your English was so good, good enough. Okay, and you had to, while applying for NTU, did you have to collect any other documents like recommendation letter? You have any recommendation letter also for the UG programs?
I don't think it's necessary, but you can add it on. You can
Okay,
add it into as additional documents. They don't. It's not compulsory.
it's not compulsory. So your transcripts, let's say your English score,
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
enough to apply.
Yeah.
And after you applied, how was the visa process? How did you get your visa to Singapore?
So the visa process, it's pretty smooth actually. You don't need a lot of time for it. So you need to fill out a few forms, and the ICA, which is the Immigrations and the Checkpoint Authority, they coordinate with your university. So first you fill out this form, which is called the E-Form 16, and based on that you get a letter which permits you to stay in Singapore legally till the time you get your student visa. And once you're in Singapore, you go to the university. There's uh, this procedure that you have to follow within the university to get your student visa. So the immigration authority people come to your university and then they verify all your documents. So the documents was mostly that E-Form 16, which had all your personal particulars, your family details about your parents, financial details as well. And then after that, they take pictures of you, and then yeah, that's pretty much the whole
So
procedure.
they came to the campus to do all the
Yeah.
formalities. You didn't have to go to the ICA office.
No, they came to the campus.
Okay, okay, that's good. And
Yeah.
initially for the visa, you got like a in principle approval letter and you could fly with the approval letter, or you had to apply for a like a tourist visa along with the letter?
No, I could fly with the in principle approval letter.
Okay, okay. So like
Yeah.
airport authority accepts that in principle approval letter as a
Yeah.
visa document itself. Okay.
Yeah.
So you lived in Delhi, like how long did you live in Delhi before this NTU thing?
Pretty much my whole life. I was
Pretty
born in
much your whole life.
Kolkata, but then I lived in Delhi. Yeah.
Okay, okay. You were born in Kolkata and then you have been living in Delhi. So how was this life change, the lifestyle of, let's say, Delhi versus Singapore? Similarities, dissimilarities. How was that adjustment for you?
Uh, there were a lot of dissimilarities that I would like to point out. So in public, the way the crowd interacts with each other and the way the crowd functions essentially is way more structured. So even let's say while crossing the roads, or like, the drivers are so nice, they always stop before you go. And then even on the escalators, you see that the right side is always empty for the people who are in a rush so that they can rush through. And then food was a big adjustment for me because even the Indian food was very different due to the large, uh, predomination of South Indians as well. So I fell in love with South Indian food there as well. That was a good shift, I'd say, because I got to try new food. It was a great experience overall. And then socially, it was a bit of an adjustment period. It took me some time to make Singaporean friends, trying to understand how they interact with each other, and yeah. So
Accent wise, was it a bit hard for you to adjust and understand at times?
I mean, during the first month, I'd say yeah, but then I caught on to it pretty quickly. I mean, if you live there all the time, then you catch on to it pretty quickly.
Sure, sure, sure. And what about the way of teaching? Like, let's say your school teaching, the way
Hmm.
the school teachers
Hmm.
taught you versus, let's say, the professors taught you at NTU. Do you like have any comments on that education, the way the education is imparted to
So,
students?
education-wise, yeah, I'd say it's way more different when it comes to schooling in India. I can't speak for colleges in India because I haven't gone there, but uh, as compared to schooling in India, the teaching in Singapore is way more. Uh, it's based on independent learning. So you have to put in the effort. You have to show the professors that you're putting in the effort in the tutorials, in the discussion classes, the seminars as well. And so in lectures, most of the lectures are also recorded, so you can use them for reference later on. And yeah,
Mhm.
the
Uh,
mhm,
yeah, please carry on.
yeah, yeah. So the structure is very different, but the quality of education is also very good, I'd say. So it's a bit of an adjustment period again when it comes to the education part.
Sure, sure. And regarding the accommodation, where did you find and how did you find the accommodation?
So I'm staying on campus in the dorms, or we call it halls. So yeah, I applied through my college's website only, and then it was a pretty simple procedure. You just have to fill out some forms with your details, and then the rates are cheaper to independent housing, cheaper as compared to independent housing.
So most students of NTU are like living within the dorms or they are living outside as well.
Majority of them stay within campus. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So you have that like a hostel culture also where you
yeah,
all
yeah,
interact with
yeah.
each other and all,
Yeah.
maybe probably some
So
activities.
yeah. So as I said, they're called halls. So we have these inter-hall games where it's so like let's say that's pretty much every sport is available in that tournament, and they're pretty welcoming as well. So let's say I if I have never played any sport, for example, I played water polo for the first time uh, with my hall mates. So it was a pretty fun experience. You get to learn a lot of new things and learn more about new cultures because a lot of exchange students also come on board, stay in hall with you, and then yeah.
And what is the strength like of your batch each year? How many people get through this UG course?
Well, there's a lot. So I can only speak for economics because there are too many disciplines. And then I'd say in economics, I'm not too sure of the number, but during the first year in the compulsory course, I'd say there were about 400 people. So let's say about that, there's 400 people in economics in my year, including people with other disciplines as well. So let's say if someone is studying economics and business or has a minor in economics and stuff like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sure. And like these 400 students had like some common classes, and then you are divided into like smaller sections also, like 50, 100 students per class.
Uh, so, uh, so we have these lectures in lecture halls, which is pretty much everyone has the same lecture. But then we have these smaller classes called tutorials, where they discuss all the questions. And tutorials are, I'd say there are about 25 to 30 students in each class, so that the professor can give individual time to each and every student.
And were you also given any option for the bond of like 3 year, 6 year option?
Yeah, yeah. So that's an option as well. So after you graduate, if you sign that bond, you have to work for 3 years in Singapore. Uh, and I think that's only for a 50% discount on the tuition fees. Whereas for the 6 year bond, your entire tuition fees is waived off and you get some monthly stipend as well. I'm not too sure if that's the right term, but yeah. So you get a monthly allowance for your living expenses. But after you complete your undergrad, you have to stay in Singapore for 6 years and work there to,
Did
yeah.
you like, I mean, did you opt for any of them or you decided not to opt? Like,
Yeah. I decided not to opt because I wasn't too sure of if I wanted to pursue my master's right after I complete my undergrad.
okay, so if you do your UG, then there is this 6 year bond, which means you can't do masters or you have to do masters and then again stay 6 years in Singapore like that.
Um, I'm not too sure about it, but I, I think there'll be some complications if you want to do your master's. I mean, there's a
Okay.
way around it, but I'm not too sure about the particulars.
Okay, so you have some idea, like some aspiration that you will do masters. So that's the
Yeah.
reason you didn't. But this option is open to like anyone who is admitted to NTU or only some people get this option as such.
Oh, it's available to everyone. So it's the bond is funded by the government, I believe. So
So
it's
anyone
available
getting
to,
admitted gets this as a add-on offer that okay, if you don't
yeah.
have,
Hmm,
if you're facing any financial
hmm,
difficulties, you can go for this 3 year or 6 year bond. And
yeah.
so this, but this is one good thing is like for the
Hmm,
very, let's say somebody who is not very financially sound. So
hmm,
there will be no barrier, at least for Singapore for them.
yeah. Yeah. For the
Financial.
6 year bond, especially, yeah, there won't be any financial barrier, I'd say.
Yeah, and
Hmm,
obviously, I mean, let's say if somebody is really economically, backward, like not very sound, they may be happy to actually have that 6 year bond because then it's also make sure that they work for 6 years in Singapore and
yeah.
it becomes like 4 year plus 6 year, 10 year abroad at least, like
Hmm,
that.
hmm,
So, okay, next discussion point question. So,
hmm,
what's your future goal after few years? You have decided anything as of now?
yeah. So, as of now, my future goal is to work in private equity or venture capital. I've been interested in that space for a while, so I would like to pursue a career in that.
And you have like any of your favorite private equity venture capital that you have been following in India or abroad or Singapore, anywhere?
So, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Can you please
What
repeat
I'm
it?
asking is any of the VC firm, the VC
Hmm.
venture capitalist, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, for which you want to work, any of your dream company name like
yeah,
Sequoia or something?
yeah. So, in Singapore, all over the world, Blackstone is pretty big, so that's definitely a dream. I'll be applying there as soon as I graduate. And last summer, I interned in HDFC Capital, which is a real estate private equity firm.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, sure.
yeah.
So private equity or VC, either of. So you are also a bit into the startup like you have been following some startup culture also?
Yeah, that was because of my last internship. I had the pleasure of talking with startups, understanding their business model. So that was a great experience as well.
Sure. Okay, so coming to the last question of our podcast, what advice would you give to the juniors who are aspiring to go to NTU or Singapore or any other country? Any specific advice that will help them?
Any specific advice?
Or I mean, generic,
Hmm, hmm,
specific combination you can give all.
yeah. Generally, I'd say just focus on your holistic development. Make sure, I mean, do not compromise on your grades. I'm in no way saying that, but you need to make sure that you're doing well in your extracurriculars so that you develop your personality. So, because getting into college is one thing and doing well in college is another thing. So, make sure you have the required skill set for that. So, just develop your social skills, develop hobbies and interests so that you're able to socialize well and have people around you with common interests. And then another thing would be to interact with your seniors or people who work in the field you want to pursue a career in. So yeah, that
Sure,
is
sure.
something.
So
Yeah,
interaction with potential alumni of your
yeah,
career path, and
yeah,
also focusing on this holistic development, because probably India is more marks centric, whereas the world is more holistic in
yeah,
people, I guess. Okay, okay. So Aryaman, thank you very much for your time and sharing your knowledge to our audience. So now
yeah.
we'll end the podcast. So thank you for your
Okay.
time again.
Thank you so much for having me.